So it looks like the federal government is now tracking all our gun purchases, which is illegal by law, federal law. So I've been trying to wait out the fog and the rain, but it didn't ever clear up, so I got to get a video made. So I better do it under the porch. I apologize for not being able to walk around. So a while back, I told you about two stories that happened at the same time, that the federal government overstepped their bounds by a lot. One of the things the federal government wanted to do is they sent letters out to Missouri County sheriffs. So the state of Missouri, there were several counties in the state of Missouri from the FBI, stating that they were going to come out and do an audit of our conceal and carry license. In Missouri, we're constitutional carry now, so you don't even have to have a license. There are some states, if we travel out of state, that require us to have a license, so you can still go to the sheriff's office and get a license, but you don't have to have one here in the state of Missouri anymore. So that was a little bit confusing on its face. But then when you really think about it, our conceal and carry law has nothing to do with the federal government. That was written by the state of Missouri, passed by the state of Missouri, approved by the governor of the state of Missouri, and then the sheriff gives us our license based on background checks. And I don't even know what they do anymore. The first time I had to do it, I had to give a fingerprint, but I'm not even sure you got to do that anymore. I just haven't gotten my license renewed because I don't intend to travel out of state. And if I do, it's going to be states which allow me to carry without my license. I still have my old license, so I don't even know why they were coming out. Well, our attorney general, state of Missouri's attorney general, who is now going to be a senator, so I'm definitely going to miss him. He wrote a letter to the FBI and said, no, you're not coming out here. Don't even try, because it's none of your business what our sheriffs do with their license program. So I was really proud of the state of Missouri's attorney general. Always have been. He does things like that all the time. Well, at the same time, I guess it was over, I don't know. I'm just going to say New Jersey. Why not? It's over there on the east side of the United States. The ATF decided they were going to stick their nose in people's businesses that they really had no right to be sticking their nose into. So apparently the ATF, when they do a background check, well, I guess when the FBI does a background check, or whoever does the background check, when you apply for to get a gun, you got to fill out that paperwork. So the ATF keeps a database of you. I don't think they keep a record of what guns you purchased, that you just purchased a gun. Well, the ATF got the state patrol to come out with them to a person's house. They knocked on the guy's door, and it's all recorded on video from the doorbell camera. And the ATF guy tells the homeowner that he wants to see his guns because they've been identified in the database that he made multiple purchases, and they want to see if it was a straw purchase. Now, straw purchase is when you buy a gun for somebody else. Now, straw purchases are usually identified by the store owner. You say like, well, yeah, I'm buying this for my husband or something, then that's a straw purchase, and the store owner is supposed to know about it. Well, the guy says, well, my kids are asleep inside. I mean, the neighbors are staring, and it was just really uncomfortable for him. Well, one of the guys, not on the porch, one of the law enforcement officers, now none of them had a uniform on. Now, some people in the comments section said, oh, yes, they did. They had their vest on. It identified who they were. No, that doesn't mean anything. I want a badge number. I want information. If you're going to come to my door, you better be appropriately dressed as a law enforcement officer. Don't be coming over here telling me, yeah, I'm Joe Blow from the ATF, and you're going to show me your guns. No, it ain't going to work that way. The guy started to ask for a warrant, but one of the guys off the porch said, if we have to come back, it's really not going to be a good day for you. So intimidation, they're going to go get a warrant. Well, the guy didn't do anything wrong, so they wouldn't have been able to get a warrant. It was just intimidation. So the guy said, well, can I just go get the guns and bring them out to you? Oh, yeah, bring them out. So he goes in and gets one of the guns and brings it out, and the ATF officer checks it off on his report. Okay, thanks, have a great day. He didn't check any of the other guns, so I mean, I don't even know what the whole thing was about. I guess it was the gun that they wanted to see. Regardless, all of it was just really wrong. And it's not the kind of country we live in. And they're getting where they're bullying people more and more all the time. Well, now, a while back, and I didn't report on this one because I didn't understand it very well. I didn't know what they were doing with the information. I thought, well, you know, it's just the companies being jerks. But apparently, MasterCard and Visa, don't quote me on this because like I said, I didn't really understand what was going on at the time when it happened. Put out a statement that if you buy a firearm, they're going to track that information and put it into a database and make it available for law enforcement. On the surface, you're like, oh, okay, whatever. You don't really think about it. It's like, oh, of course, if you're a real hardcore gun advocate, you're like, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing? No, you can't do that. If the government wants to know what guns I have, they can do what they're supposed to do and go get a warrant and going to come over here and check me out. They don't need to be going to a third party to find out where I'm buying stuff from. Well, I don't know what happened with that one. Well, a while back, there were some rumblings about UPS and FedEx tracking information about guns they are shipping across the country. Now, I've done this in the past. I had a gun that I bought from a friend in Oklahoma. I was in Iowa. I had a friend in Oklahoma who had a gun, and I wanted to buy it from him. So he went to the gun store. The gun store packaged it up, and they sent it out to me. I've also bought guns offline. I bought 2 Henry rifles, a 22 and a 357. I think I bought a revolver, an old cowboy revolver, 357 Magnum. You buy it online, then you go over to the gun store that you had it sent to. You fill out all the paperwork, and I don't remember if you bought it while you're online or if you had to pay the cash while you're at the store. I don't remember. So the UPS and FedEx is now keeping a detailed record of what guns you purchased with the serial number, your name, all that information. And what they're doing is new policy, they are requiring the gun store owner who sold the gun to give them all that information. Well, again, if you're not a real hardcore gun advocate, you're like, okay, so what's the big deal? I don't get it. But it is a runaround federal law. I just learned this today. Federal law says the government cannot keep a database of the information about your guns and you know, all that detailed information. Well, now it's starting to make more sense what they're doing. FedEx and UPS told several state attorneys that they're just keeping the records for law enforcement. If there's a crime committed, they can, you know, have the record. But federal law, so does that mean the FBI also? I mean, if you think about it, there's a lot to this. If you think about it, it's kind of unconstitutional that they're doing it for your sheriff's department or state patrol, because that means state patrol and the sheriff's department doesn't need a warrant to come find out what kind of guns you have. So they're getting into your private business simply because you bought a gun and you had it sent to you. If I buy something from Amazon, for example, a phone or anything, they don't keep detailed records of that. So why are they keeping detailed records of guns? Well, I know they're anti-gun people because guns are dangerous. No. Guns are not dangerous. I've had a gun sitting up in the attic for almost 2 years now. It hasn't moved. It hasn't done a thing. It just sits there in the same direction it's always sat there. It becomes dangerous when a madman picks up that gun and does something dangerous with it. So no, guns aren't dangerous. It's the people that are dangerous, which is why I want to have a firearm in case some madman, dangerous madman, with a gun or a knife or a hammer or any other kind of weapon, a vehicle, and wants to try to hurt me with it. I would like to use my firearm to stop the person who's trying to hurt me, cause great bodily harm or death, which gives me the right to defend myself with whatever means I have available. Guns seem to be a really good option. Well, they want to track that information. The government does, but they can't because of federal law. Attorney General, the state of Missouri's Attorney General, but I think Montana actually started it this time. Usually things like this, my state attorney's right in the middle of it, you know, he's the one writing up the drafts and all that. But this time it was Montana's state attorney and 17 other state attorneys, district attorneys, whatever you call them, I'm not sure, have signed this letter, sent it to UPS and FedEx, asking why they're keeping track of this information. Well, we already know why, because they said they want to provide it with the law enforcement. But they want to know if it's being provided to the federal government. Well, the answer is going to be yes. I mean, they already know what the answer is. But they want a written statement from these organizations stating that they are handing that information over to the federal government. That way they can sue the federal government for violating federal law. But this is just another runaround. Now, I would like to know about MasterCard and Visa and all those people also. Are they doing it as well? In the article I read, it said that MasterCard and Visa were doing it, but it didn't say that anybody's actually trying to stop it. This is why I'm trying to live off grid. I got all the tools that I wanted to get before all this came crashing down. We knew for decades now that the federal government is trying to get more and more power. Now, there is an organization that has a bunch of elitists in it that I can't use their names, but it is being driven by this organization. This organization wants us to have nothing. And they also would like for us to be happy about it. There's other organizations that are actually trying to do this, trying to take everything away from us. What they're trying to do is buy up everything. They're trying to buy up all the real estate, everything. And that way, we have to rent it from them. You don't have a choice. You're gonna sell it. Now, of course, you and me are saying, how are they going to do this? Well, the same way they've just now made a gun registry for the federal government. They're going to do it backhanded. They're going to do it some way where they can sneak around and do it behind our back without us actually knowing about it. I mean, what I think they'll do is if you own a home that you still pay on, they'll figure out a way to take over that loan, and then they own the property. Then they can rewrite the contract and say, okay, you forfeited, or you didn't pay the right interest, or they're going to jack up the interest rate so high you can't afford it, whatever the case is, and then they'll own it, and then you have to rent it. But more and more organizations are doing this all the time, like Microsoft. Microsoft used to sell their software to you, and you owned it. But now you have to rent it for a year. You pay whatever it is per year, you download it. They're violating all kinds of things. The Fourth Amendment, the 10th Amendment, state rights, personal rights, warrants, all of it. They're coming around and they're doing it behind our backs. So the only solution I have is don't do it anymore. Don't do anything that they can come and get. At all costs, do everything you can. Eventually, they might drive me off into a boat where I live on a boat off grid. That might be my only option, but I'm always going to continue to try to find my freedom. I might have to go to the moon. Maybe Elon Musk can send me up there and I'll live on the moon off grid, but I'm going to continue to try to find my freedom. I encourage you to as well. So if you'll click this up next box, I'd really appreciate it. Take you to a video where I was talking about they're going to shut down the electric grid right in the middle of the winter, right here in the United States. So I hope I can inspire you to get off grid. Thanks for watching.